and equality. When all nations become capitalist democracies, he says, it will mark the end of history. Fukuyama wrote his landmark book in the immediate aftermath of the Cold War between America and the Soviet Union. The End of History was published in 1992, the same year that the Berlin Wall, the most potent symbol of the East-West divide, was finally demolished. It was also the year after the collapse of the Soviet Union, which ended the global standoff between the two superpowers that had lasted since World War II. Fukuyama argues that the breakup of the Soviet Union in 1991 proves that liberal democracy and capitalism, an economic system that emphasizes the private ownership of goods, are the best political and economic systems, with the fewest flaws. In The End of History, he claims that this triumph of Western liberalism, the political philosophy that emphasizes freedom, equality, and regularly contested elections, represents a historical endpoint, a final stage that will replace war with lasting universal peace. He is not specific about the time frame for this process. He also acknowledges that some countries face serious obstacles in changing how they operate. But Fukuyama's fundamental argument is that all human societies evolve in the same way, and that human history everywhere leads to liberal democracy. Fukuyama draws heavily on the ideas of political philosophers of the past in order to build his vision of the future. He revives and develops the famous dialogue between influential 19th century German philosophers Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel and Karl Marx. Both thinkers agreed that a historical endpoint would come, but disagreed on what it would be. Hegel's view was that history is a continuing fusion of ideas that led to refinements in the way society is arranged. This evolution of ideas means that good ideas survive and are, in turn, fine-tuned as people improve society by degrees. Even contradictions, once discovered, lead to further tweaks until spiritual enlightenment is reached. Marx rejected this idealism and favored a more robust approach to the periodization of history, one in which revolution brings about meaningful change. Fukuyama's bold prophecy of the triumph of Western liberalism draws on a wider body of political thought beyond Hegel and Marx. He is particularly keen on borrowing the concept of thymos from the ancient Greek philosopher Plato. This refers to a part of the human psyche or soul that drives people to aim for a fairer, more equal way of life. Plato stated that humans, unlike other animals, require recognition and continually struggle to achieve it. According to Fukuyama, only liberal democracy can satisfy this human need. Another major influence on Fukuyama's writing was Russian-born philosopher Alexander Kojève, who offered a 20th century interpretation of Hegel and believed that liberalism was the ultimate, and increasingly universal, stage in world history. Why does the end of history and the last man matter? Fukuyama's controversial argument was made at a time of huge uncertainty around the world over the future of international relations. The decades-long Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union had ended in 1991. The breakup of the Soviet Union left the United States as the last superpower standing, and seemingly the most dominant nation on the planet. Scholars such as Fukuyama and his contemporaries in American universities were attempting to come to terms with this immense change in the balance of world power, and to make difficult predictions about its implications for the future. From the outset, the end of history met with substantial criticism. Fukuyama drew reactions from all parts of the political spectrum and was challenged immediately by equally bold, contrasting viewpoints. The most notable came in The Clash of Civilizations, written by Fukuyama's former teacher at Harvard, the American political philosopher Samuel Huntington. For Huntington, the deciding factor in world politics would increasingly boil down to cultural differences. Fukuyama and Huntington were often presented by the media as heading rival camps.